We are now recording. So welcome everyone. I'm Edwin Rutch and from the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, and I'd like to welcome you to our 5-week training on how to be an Empathy Circle Facilitator. We are recording this for educational and promotional purposes, and whenever you see me, if I'm in one of the breakout rooms, the call will be recorded. So just keep that in mind. The other circles and groups will not be recorded. I've been connecting with all of you as sort of in the producer role, bringing everyone together. So I've emailed all of you, so all of you, have kind of interacted with me. But I'd like to start with, and the producer kind of puts all the this whole training together. And what I'd like to do is introduce our trainers. And so we have Lou over there. Do you want to just wave? One of our trainers, and
Hello.
Bill, one of our trainers, and both of them are responsible for having developed this training. They created the core training and have held many of these over the last year. And then we also have Timothy, who's also a trainer. Welcome, Timothy. Thanks for joining us here. And the trainers are experienced in the process, in this training process. So they'll sort of be guiding the overall training. And then we also have trainees who they've taken the training several times and are learning to be trainers of the process. And we have Susan over there, Susan. And we have another trainee, Shoshona, who wasn't able to make it today, but she'll be here next week. And then we also have what we call a floater. And the floater has also taken the training before, and they kind of fill in different roles. So we're glad to have Kelly here as our floater. And with that, I'm going to turn it now over to Bill, who is our trainer, and to take it away. Take it away, Bill.
Thanks, Edwin. So we're going to do some short introductions for about 30 seconds, and I'll start and we'll model it, and then I'll call on people to just kind of move things along. My name is Bill Filler. I'm a retired special education teacher, having taught students with severe emotionally challenges for more years than I'd care to relate. And I've been involved with Edwin for about 3 years, and Lou, and the Empathy Circle. I've gone on street actions. I've done the Zoom things. And the reason I'm here is that my work's not done. There are a lot of kids who really need to be heard. And we need to spread this so that this is something of the norm. If that happens, I think we can affect great societal change. So, Lou?
Thanks, Bill. So I'm an educator and a filmmaker. I have a background in communication and conflict resolution and leadership training. And I've been working with Edwin for about 3 years. And I do this work because connecting across differences and finding ways to create mutual understanding where people respond to difference with curiosity instead of fear is something that I think would be a real contribution to the world. So I'm really interested in helping people learn to do that. And the Empathy Circle process is excellent for creating self-understanding and understanding others.
Thanks, Lou.
That's me.
Sure. Susan?
Good morning. I'm a former psychology professor who left to consult for universities and corporations, and I've taught listening to thousands and thousands of people. And I'm so intent on having a more empathic world as I see us operating across differences unskillfully. So let's learn to be interested in everybody.
Thank you, Susan. Kelly?
Yeah, I have mostly what brought me to Empathy Circles was some of my interests and experience doing different group communication practices and different kind like WeSpace type stuff. And I found Empathy Circles taught me a lot about communication that I found I wasn't learning other things. So I think it's something everyone can learn. I think it has a lot of value in like family and society. And so I just want to help people learn it.
Great, thanks, Kelly. And did Timothy drop off?
It looks like it.
Timothy, can you hear us? Oh, okay. Well, Timothy is one of our is a trainer and so instructor, and so when he comes back, we'll try to get him in here. All right, Gloria. There's Timothy.
My name is Gloria, and I'm currently in Michigan. I'm interested in participating in this training just because I think Empathy Circle has taught me a lot of valuable skills, and I'd love to develop the skills furthermore.
Great, welcome. Okay, Timothy, can you hear us yet?
Yep, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right. You want to do a short introduction, Timothy?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everybody. Born and raised in San Francisco, California, studied psychology and social work grad school at Berkeley. But both of those didn't help me to help others or help myself as much as empathy. And so I studied nonviolent communication and became a certified trainer after 6 years of work in that world. And so I practice that. I'm also a health educator at a large healthcare organization. So I coach and counsel people in healthy lifestyle counseling and change. And so I'm just here to be human with you and experience that feeling of all of us really being heard to our satisfaction. That's one of my deepest values, that experience. So that's where I'm coming from. Nice to meet you, everybody.
Great, thanks, Timothy. Elizabeth?
Hi, my name is Elizabeth. I work in communications and I live in Indianapolis, Indiana. I work in communications and I think the more important part of communications is listening and actually hearing what people are saying instead of just listening so that you can respond. And I also think this is a great opportunity to learn how to be a better family member and neighbor and member of my community. And so I'm excited to learn.
Great, welcome, Elizabeth. Mona?
Hi, my name is Mona. I'm originally from Egypt, but I'm living now in Pittsburgh. I'm doing my master's degree in Pittsburgh University in education, like curriculum and instruction. And like being in an empathy circle really helped me to better communication, to become a better listener. And I really hope to be a trainer and do that empathy circle for other people and help them to gain everything I feel after every empathy circle. I'm trying my main goal in my master's degree to have like a curriculum based on culture. So in empathy circles, there is a different culture, different stories that make me more understanding other people. So I'm very glad to be part of this.
Great, well, I look forward to working with you, Mona. Magali, and if I mispronounce your name, please correct me.
Yeah, my name's Magali.
Magali, okay.
Magali.
I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and the reason I'm interested in these empathy circles is because I think it's like an efficient way to build community in school environments.
Great, thanks. Alyssa?
What brought me to empathy circles is I liked what I saw in terms of the way it made people feel, and I understand that when you're actively listening to someone, you're better at communicating with someone because just you're able to speed up communication in terms of like actually getting clear on what the person is saying. And I think I think with that, as well as what learning more about what empathy can bring, I think is really interesting to know, and I look forward in developing those skills more.
Great. Well, welcome, Melissa. I think I was in a circle with you last time. It's great to see you again. So, Shayla, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. You're muted, Shayla.
Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, you kind of unmute to correct me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong.
Okay, you'll get used to this. I'm in the terrible habit of not unmuting myself. But my name is Shaila, and I live in Sunnyvale, California. And I think speaking and listening are two sides of the same coin. When you learn to become a better listener, you also learn to become a better speaker. And that improves the communication channel greatly, which is what I'd like to practice during these empathy circles. And also, I think eventually I want to practice more of self-acceptance and acceptance of others. And I think that happens when we are open-minded during a clear-cut communication process.
Great. Well,
so acceptance is important to me.
Okay, great. Well, welcome. And I think that you'll find what you're seeking, or at least a step on that path. Savannah?
Hi, I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm currently at Arizona State studying elementary education. So I'm looking forward to learning new ways that I can implement in the classroom and communicate better with students.
Great, Savannah. Dominic.
Hey everyone, I'm Dominic. I'm from San Francisco. I recently graduated from Berkeley studying psychology. So go Bears, Timothy. I'm hoping to apply to grad school in psychology soon, and I'm working as a tutor. So I think the Empathy Circle will help my future clients and my current students, help me help them better.
Great. Lala?
Everyone, I'm Lala. I'm an instructional designer and also a learning and development specialist, and I work I'm starting my new job tomorrow, so I'll still be working in the same function. And as someone working in the learning and development space, I think communication is really important in terms of, making sure that I am facilitating the knowledge to the end users within my organization. And I really want to further practice my communication skills to really speak with clarity and intent, but also to be able to listen deeply so I can understand what others are saying and to make sure that others feel fully heard and understood. So I'm very excited about the upcoming trainings.
Great. Welcome, Lala. Monica? We can't hear you, Monica, but you're not muted. Okay, so there might be a little connection thing if you look at your where it says mute in the lower left hand, and then you can click on that little up arrow, and then you can see where it is. So I'll come back to you. So don't worry, we'll get back to you. But maybe you can, okay. Trey.
Hi everyone, I'm from Barbados. I joined this cohort because I noticed, as I was experiencing it as one of the participants with Edwin in some other communities that I was a part of, I kind of noticed the breakthroughs that I felt that I couldn't explain, and it was a simple, for me, it felt like a simple way of gaining huge impact in terms of my communication. And yeah, so I said that I really need to explore it because it's a simple way, it's good to package and share with others. So yes, that brought me here.
Great. Well, we're glad to have you, Trey. Welcome. Daniel.
Hi, I'm Daniel, and I'm from Southern California. And I just wanted to develop my communication skills. And I was offered, the training through Pandemic Professors, and I'm really excited to continue my training here with empathy and to learn how to better communicate and also how to listen intently, as many of you have said. Yeah, thanks.
Great. And Joni.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joni. I'm in San Francisco, California. Although this is a pretty new home for me. I've lived in Boston for the past 10 years or 6 years before this. No, I guess 10 years, including at school. And I found out about this training through Professor Pandemic. And I'm really excited about it because I think it'll make me a better tutor, but also I'm a graduate student in data science. And I think having better empathy and listening skills will help me be a better speaker of results from data science, but also be able to use data to really solve people's problems by listening to them beforehand. So I'm excited to learn with you all. Thank you.
Great. We're excited to have you. Monica, now you are muted. Can we hear you? No, we can't hear you, Monica. Something happened. Oh, something changed.
Yeah, it's coming in and out, Monica. There it
There we
is.
go.
Yeah, we're hearing you. We're hearing you now.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Monica. I'm an aspiring educator and I'm a recent college graduate. I studied history, ethnic studies, and education. Overall, I feel that educators understand their students better when they are more compassionate. And also, I feel that empathy allows students to feel safe and a sense of belonging.
Great. Well, my experience dovetails with that. Okay. I don't know if there's any feedback. Is there any feedback, Lou? No, I don't think so. So I'll hand it right off to Timothy, who will describe the course purpose and objectives, and also the course arc. Timothy?
Wonderful. Yes, I just want to acknowledge how many educators, aspiring educators, and mentors and tutors are here. So we get to really be really on our game in terms of inclusion and effective instruction. So we are really going to be welcoming your feedback because we're actually developing this training, continuing to develop it. So we welcome that. Okay, super. So I'd just like to give a quick overview of really the purpose of this training course and the objectives that we'd like to reach over the next, including this week, 5 weeks total. And we're looking at outcomes that we hope you take away from this training. Number one, we hope that you develop a rich understanding and become familiar with the goals and the values and the basic core structure of an empathy circle, the goals, the values, and the core structure there, so that you can guide others through the experience as a facilitator. So that's number one, our main outcome, 1 of 4. Number 2, we would want you to deepen your experience of being in an empathy circle, right? And this is where you get to practice empathy as a listener and as a facilitator. Number 3, we want to help you become aware of your own strengths and your own learning edges and challenges as a facilitator of empathy circles. And we want to do that by giving you lots of practice, including today to participate. We'll be dividing into small groups in every week. And also to help you learn how to respond to typical challenges that can arise in an empathy circle. And finally, 4 out of 4, we hope you leave this training having established some strong bonds, maybe even some friendship with each other or us as trainers, all of us, so we can all continue to support each other in our training and growth towards building a culture of empathy. So those are our main outcomes, goals, objectives, purposes. Many of you probably, all those words mean something different because you're educators, but that's basically where we're coming from, what we're hoping for. And I want to just pause there and give you a chance to take that in. And then I'm going to give a quick course overview or an arc of what's going to happen over the next 5, including this week, these 5 weeks together. And so I'll do that in just a moment, but I wanted to see if there are any brief questions about our objectives. Anything at all? Any thoughts or questions?
I was curious if what were the first 2, the first objectives that you mentioned earlier?
Mm-hmm. You were curious, more curious about them, about how we're going to do them, you mean, Alyssa?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Alyssa. I'll just clarify that. We have another couple minutes here. Basically, the first 2 objectives are, we can help you understand and become familiar with the goals and the values, but actually the structure of an empathy circle. So that is, through practice, we want you to be able to introduce an empathy circle to a group of people, or maybe actually invite people to an empathy circle and explain what it is, right? But also be able to introduce it and guide an empathy circle actually to help it happen, to guide the process while people are actually doing it, and you're in the role of facilitator, so that you'll be more confident in your ability to do that. So that's objective number 1.
So Timothy, I just want to point out that Bill pasted the 2 objectives in the chat.
Wonderful.
For someone that needs support, if Alyssa needs some support in understanding them.
Fabulous. And Alyssa, I'm commenting a little further. Does that help you understand that first objective a little bit more?
It does.
Good, thumbs up, wonderful. And then the second objective, just that experience of being in an empathy circle. So you're not going to be facilitating the whole time, but you'll get to participate quite a bit in this training. And you'll get to practice honesty and empathy and listening just by hanging out as part of the circle. So that's just, helping you become more comfortable and more familiar with how an empathy circle happens. Does that clarify that second one there, Alyssa?
Yes.
Okay, thanks for asking. Super. And I'd like to go on to introducing our basic arc of the 5 weeks, and so you get a sense of that. And so what that's going to look like is in our first session today, our goal is to review the empathy circle practice itself, and then really to introduce us all and explore the core values of a culture of empathy, and to experience the benefits of some practice together. We'll be dividing into small breakout rooms, small groups to actually do that, one with a trainer in each one. So that's today. The second session next week, we're going to be continuing practice on how to introduce, as a facilitator, how to introduce an empathy circle. And then actually to begin to facilitate, you'll get to practice facilitating next week in a small group of 3 or 4 with a trainer supporting you. And you get to really observe the trainers do that as well. In our third session, we'll give you a chance to demonstrate how to introduce one and set up the agreements and the process, right? And then we're going to let you practice some challenging situations that happen in empathy circles. If you feel ready, you don't have to do that at all. In any participation in this whole training, of course, how you participate is up to you. Choice is really important here. But in the third session, it's kind of fun. You get to experience some common challenges and how you might deal with those. In the fourth session, we get some more time to facilitate and discuss challenges that might arise, do some problem solving. And in the fifth session, we'll integrate all of our learnings together and we'll get some feedback in terms of growing this training. Now, I want to remind us all that in between each session, we really want to encourage you to do two things. Number one, to connect with somebody in this group or empathy, as an empathy buddy, to connect one-on-one, maybe once during the week, to practice empathy, learning and honesty and listening together and learning the process of empathy. Also, we're strongly encouraging you to look around in your life, where you work, where you live, to host an empathy circle between each session. And it's really fun because, obviously, we're just learning, we're just giving it a go. And then you come back with lots of learnings or challenges or good stories. And we can celebrate those and mourn things that had a hard time, celebrate what worked, but really learn. So that's my last question for you. As we look ahead, where might you be able to facilitate an empathy circle, even this week? So that's our invitation, and that's a quick overview of where we're coming from and where we're going. So thanks. I just want to hand it over to Bill now. Take us to the next piece of today.
So we just wanted to go over where the empathy circle fits. The empathy circle is a wonderful tool, but it also fits into a larger vision of a culture of empathy. And so we worked and we came up with a few core values. These are not meant to be extensive. They mean different things to different people, but we just like to put these out. These are the definitions that we came up with, and it's just something to think about as we go on. So mutuality, and you'll see that in the empathy circle. We aspire to a reciprocal empathy between all people. A lot of people talk about empathy, burnout. So in order to keep empathy going, it has to be a mutual process. And then also openness to expressing oneself and open to listening to others. That's a decision that we all have to make in the empathy circle. And then care, having a sense of what is necessary for the health, welfare, and well-being of oneself and others. And those are some of the core values. There might be more, you may have different takes on it, and that's fine. And I'll hand it back to Edwin.
What are you doing?
Edwin, you're muted.
All right, good. Got a lot of balls in the air here. Okay, so when I had sent out a link to add your own values, because we want to hear what your values were too. So I'm just going to share this screen here, and this is our cohort. This is our cohort number 12. And these are the values that came up. You can see that honesty was a big one. We had empathy, equity, understanding, accountability. So there's really a lot of different values that this group has, different values. And what we want to explore is how do your values relate to empathy and a culture of empathy? So this is just something to keep in mind. And we're going to be going into breakout rooms in a little while, and we'll be talking about how does one of your values relate to empathy. And it's just really good to know, be able to connect your personal values, like how does connection, for example, relate to empathy, or how does honesty relate to empathy? So yeah, well, that's it. And see who is next after this. Susan. Okay, take it away, yeah. Susan.
So I will quickly review the how-to. And of course, the purpose is all these values. And we want the speaker to feel heard and understood and accepted, and to demonstrate that we're genuinely interested in them. So in an empathy circle, we have a speaker, see the speaker here? Mm-hmm. And a listener who's kind of the container for the speaker. And the speaker will say maybe 2 or 3 or 4 sentences, because the speaker's purpose is to help the listener practice. So the speaker speaks and pauses, and the listener repeats back the essence, the meaning of what the speaker has said. And usually the speaker will say, and then just continue speaking. sometimes when we are not accurate in our paraphrase, in our repeating, they'll say, no, it's not quite like this, but it's like that. And when they feel heard, then they'll continue. We notice that while we're the listener, we need to damp down our tendency to talk and to tell about what we think about that topic. It's nice to remember also that listening is not necessarily agreeing, but just being interested and showing that we understand. So this will go back and forth between the speaker and the listener. In an empathy circle, the first person to be the speaker will choose a listener. When that 5 minutes is over, then the listener will become the speaker and choose another listener. And that way it rotates around the group and we all get a chance to speak and to listen. How does that sound? I think you've had experiences. Yeah. And now we go into small groups. Who facilitates that?
Kelly will do the introduction there.
Yeah, so now we're gonna go ahead and go into our breakouts, where each breakout room will be taking part in an empathy circle. So the topic, as Edwin mentioned, is going to be the question of how do one of your values relate to empathy and the sort of broader culture of empathy. And like in any empathy circle, you're also free to just talk about whatever is alive for you in the moment. So each of the trainers here is going to facilitate one of the breakout rooms. We're going to go out for an hour and a half. And then, yeah, when it's over, we'll come back and there'll be a full group debrief. I think that's
great.
We're good to go.
Yeah, that's it. And we're down 2 people couldn't make it today. So we're at 19. If we divide into 5 groups, we'd have 3 people in one group. And so we're actually gonna have 5 people per group. So you can decide as a facilitator if you want like 4-minute or 5-minute turns. And maybe in the larger groups, 4-minute turns. So we're gonna have Kelly, I put you in with Susan to be a co-facilitator in that group, or just have 4 groups. So with that, we're ready to go. Anything else, Lou or Bill, before we head over?
Good.
Okay, so we have an hour and a half and 10 minutes before the top of the hour. I'll send out a 10-minute notice just to let you know to prepare to close. So, okay, and let me just do one thing here. Lou's group will stay here in the room and in this room. So there we go. Okay. You should see a button you can push to join your room, or you'll be put in there automatically in a little bit. So Lou, I'm joining you in this room. If people kind of drop out and then come back in, they'll be coming through this room. So that's a little bit of a distraction, but it's, yeah, it kind of helps to have this kind of be sort of the weight room too. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Hi, Lala. Hi, Mona. Hi, Trey. Welcome. Looking forward to this time with you. I think I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna do another little introduction to the circle because I want you to hear the way I do it. Everybody does it a little bit differently, and you learn something new from hearing people describe it. So the way I like to describe the circle is the purpose of the circle is for people to have a chance to speak and be heard and to take turns doing that. So someone will take a turn speaking, and the speaking turns are timed, so they're for a certain amount of time, usually 5 minutes, but sometimes shorter, sometimes a little bit longer. And before the speaker starts speaking, they select someone in the circle to reflect back what they're saying. And the reflector's job really is just to reflect back what you understand the speaker is saying. So the things that happen in normal conversation, which is that you might make a comment, you might agree or disagree, or add your own experience, or ask a question or something like that, which is all very normal. We don't do that. Where the listener's role is to just reflect back what they understand the person saying. And at the end of the speaker's turn, you know, and if that doesn't happen, if you are the speaker and you say something and the reflector gets a piece of it, but misses another piece of it, you know, you can tell them that, well, you got this part, but you missed this part. The other thing is that for the speaker, that after you get an idea or two out, then you want to pause so that the reflector can reflect it back. Because if you speak for the whole 4 minutes, it's very hard to track everything that's being said. So after you've expressed an idea or two as a speaker, you know, you want to pause. At the end of the speaker's turn, if you feel heard, you can say, I feel heard. And then the listener becomes the speaker, and they select someone else in the circle to reflect them back. And so the listening and the speaking kind of goes around the circle like that. And when we complete one round, if we have more time, we do a second round and a third round. And the idea actually is to get to a third or fourth round. It's on the third or fourth round of speaking that things actually start to get interesting. So if you're a facilitator, you want to try to structure it with however many people you have and however much time you have, so that you get to a third or a fourth round of speaking. That's one of the things to stay conscious of. The other thing that I like to say is just a little bit about the role of the facilitator. So as the facilitator, I will keep time. So I'll let people know that time is up. You'll hear a chime go off. And if you don't hear that, I will hold up my timer. The second thing I'll do is I'll remind speakers to pause, because that's unnatural. People don't remember to pause because we don't normally do that. So I'll remind the speaker to pause if that's needed. And then the other thing is, if the reflector forgets that their role is just to reflect back what they're hearing, if they do something else like ask a question or make a comment, then I would say something about that, remind them of what their role is. And then the other thing is, if somebody is having trouble reflecting back the speaker, then I might help with that. If the reflector is having some kind of trouble, then I might help with that. So those are some of the things that I do. So any questions about the process of the circle before we start? No, I know you've all done it before. So I know you're familiar with it, but I wanted to give you the way that I describe it. Like I said, everyone does it a little bit differently. Okay. So who would like, the other thing I do when I'm introducing people to the circle is I say, I will be the first listener, and who would like to be the first speaker? And that way I'm giving a demonstration of what a reflection is. That's happening early in the circle. And then also I'm giving a demonstration, because I would be the second speaker, of what kind of speaking is possible. So, you know, by the way that I share whatever I choose to share and how I choose to share it, I'm also modeling something for the group about how speaking can be. So, so our topic today is how does something that's important to you, a value that's important to you, how does that relate to a culture of empathy? And a rule of the circle is that it's important for you to talk about what's important to you when it's your turn to speak. So if something else is important to you in the moment, when it's your turn to speak, you can speak about that, whether it's on the topic or not. So who would like to be the first speaker?
I'll go.
Okay, thanks, Lala. Appreciate that. So let's do 4-minute turns, as Edwin suggested, because we are a little shorter on time. So go ahead, and I'll listen to you.
All right. I feel a little bit unprepared to start the conversation because I don't feel like I have a solid idea in my head to talk about. But speaking on the topic, what is one of the values that I have relating to empathy? I, as a very creative person who enjoys to do a lot of design related work, creativity is one of the most important values for me. And to me, being creative isn't about being imaginative. More so, it's about defining constraints in our daily lives, defining constraints with the problems that we're facing, and then defying them with creative solutions. So I'll pause there.
Okay, so you were a little uncertain about where you wanted to start in the conversation, but the value you picked is creativity. That's really important to you, being a designer. And to you, creativity means not so much imagination, but recognizing constraints or setting constraints, recognizing constraints, and then using your creativity to work within those constraints to solve problems. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. So I think, to me, when it comes to deepening my empathic skills, whether it's listening or communicating with another person, or really just trying to understand their perspective, I also face difficulties and challenges because I have to think beyond myself to reach out to the other person. So in the process, I already am facing all these different constraints. And I think creativity can be leveraged to help me remove those constraints so I can reach out to the other person more effectively and with intention. I'll pause there.
Yeah, so what I'm getting is you're saying that empathy, you're really interested in empathy, or it's important to you because you recognize as a designer that understanding the other person is really important, and that you want to develop your ability to do that more. And you recognize that you have some constraints around that, sounded like internal constraints, and that you want to use your creativity to figure out how to deal with those internal constraints so that you can understand people more better.
Yes, I feel like you put it more eloquently than I described it. So thank you. Sorry, I'm just taking a moment to think about what I want to say next.
Silence is fine. Finding what you want to say is fine.
Yeah, so I guess we also talked about earlier mutuality, the importance of receiving empathy as well, so we don't have the empathy burnout. So I feel like adding a little bit of creativity in the process of learning empathy helps to keep the spark alive, to keep me engaged in the process of learning how to be more empathic, and also to just actually be empathic. So I find that it's beneficial to add the value which I feel is very important, which is creativity, and adding it to my empathy process, it'll help me to keep going.
Yeah, so I think I got 2 points from what you just said. One was that mutuality you think is also a really important value, because receiving empathy is just as important as giving it, because it helps you stay balanced and helps you get what you need and avoid burnout. And then the second was just also about creativity again, about how you really hope that creativity can be used as a spark to learn empathy, and that you think empathy is a really important thing for you to be able to do in your creative process.
Yes.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Hard.
See, your time's up. Great, thank you. Okay, so I'll go to Trey. Is that all right with you, Trey?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. All right. Let's see. Let me just get my timer going here. Okay. Yeah, so I'm really excited by what Lala said. I'm a creative person too. And I agree that if I'm applying my creative skills towards solving a problem that involves other people, understanding them is really important. And one of the things that has made me successful as an educator and a problem solver is having a desire and skills for understanding others.
Okay, so you agree, you can relate, you resonate with what Lala was saying as you're creative yourself, and you like the idea of being able to use your creativity, your creativity to I missed that. Can you?
Yeah, I was saying that, yes, you got the first point, great. My second point was that one of the things that has made me successful as an educator and a creative person is having a desire to understand others and the skills to do that also.
So one of the things that made you successful was your ability to, sorry, I just so good. Is your ability to use those skills in empathy.
Yeah, to understand other people, yes. Let's see. Yeah, another thing I really value is honesty. Honesty was one of the biggest words in the cloud, and I really, I'm big on honesty too. But I'm big on honesty about what's going on inside me, what I'm thinking and feeling, and not so much about honesty about my judgments about other people. So for a lot of people, honesty means honesty about my judgments of you. I'll stop there.
Okay. So you're very strong on honesty, but more honesty to yourself as opposed to what you project to others.
Yeah. So honesty means like I'm excited about being in this room with the three of you and practicing empathy and helping you understand empathy. That's like really exciting to me. And it gives me hope looking at your faces. Yeah. So that's a certain kind of honesty about what's going on in me.
So honesty for you is the excitement in being in this space with all of us. And what I feel is having the experience of the circle kind of foreign, and it gives you a lot of appreciation seeing us here on that journey.
Yes, and the kind of honesty I'm expressing there is what's inside of me and how I feel and why it's important to me. And that's the kind of honesty that I think is really important.
And it links to the honesty that you were talking about before when you said honesty with self, yeah. And what you are experiencing as opposed to what you, I guess, as opposed to what you want to experience, what you're, seeking outside of you, really.
Yes, right. What's inside of me. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. That's my time. Thanks, Trey.
Thank you. Okay, so Mona, would you listen to me? Okay, so I had chosen 3 values, and as I was thinking about them to myself, I realized one that really stood out to me was care, because the other 2 that I shows, which were openness and curiosity. As I analyzed them, I realized that they were care kind of resonated in both of them. Like it was a strong part in order to accomplish, to feel accomplishment on those two, on the other two.
So I can hear you that you have 3 value, like hearing, and the other 2 is opening and curiosity. And the first one make that 2 other possible to accomplish, like to open to other and be curiosity for that. Is that correct?
Okay, I'll go there. So because yeah, so care is the one that stood out for me. Yes, openness, right. So yeah, care is the one that stood out for me. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so do you want to just reflect that back, Mona?
Okay, so here is the one that stood for you the best, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so for me, care in relation to the in relation to empathy, empathy circle, right?
Either.
Okay. In relation to empathy, and I guess in turn, empathy circling, is to, I guess, to listen deeply, and also process with, I guess, with a sense of, I guess, holding space as opposed to like Lou said, as opposed to like, it's more of a truth. Sorry, let me back again and try to come forward again. So for me, here is to take your listening and be able to kind of, pet it, metaphorically speaking, pet it and take care of it. So basically that processing point for me, that like the processing of that information and be able to respond in a way that shows empathy, care, that shows that you're holding space for that experience and not trying to speak your truth into that experience, and
maybe pause there.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So I think like when you are here listening, like deeply listening to the process, that make you reflect more deeply what you are hearing and have a good response for that when you are listening.
Yeah, to respond in a more caring way.
So you will respond more caring, like in more caring and understanding when you listen deeply.
Yeah. Thank you, Moni. Feel heard.
So I just want to mention Wayne joined us. He's in New Zealand, and I imagine he got the times mixed up, is why he's joining us now. So just want to welcome you, Wayne. We started about an hour ago, so we're in the middle of a circle. If you just want to join this circle.
Hi, Wayne. Are you there? Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Wayne? Can you shake your head if you can hear us? Looks like you're not hearing us.
Yeah, he's not hearing us. It's just...
Okay.
Oh, there's he's
Oh,
connecting
his
the
audio
audio.
is coming in. Okay. Oh.
Do you hear us now, Wayne? Okay, I
Can
just
you
explained.
speak? Can you say something so we can see if we can hear you?
Yes. Hi. How are you?
Great. Good. Welcome. So Edwin pointed out that we started about an hour ago, and so
yes.
Yeah. So you missed the introduction to the class, and we're in a breakout session where we're doing an empathy circle. So we're just and the topic of the empathy circle is, how does a value that's important to you, whatever values are important to you, how does a value of yours that's important relate to a culture of empathy or creating a culture of empathy? and we're taking turns. So it's Mona's turn to speak. We're taking 4-minute turns. And just welcome. Very glad to have you here.
And this is a circle with where the more the complicated problems. We have someone else, Eli. I don't know who that is. I'm not sure what to do. If they were, I don't see them signed up, so I guess I will not let them in. So anyway,
Okay.
just let you know that.
Yeah, and I'm facilitating the circle, and we're doing 4-minute turns. Okay, and it's Mona's turn. So go ahead, Mona.
I will choose Lala. Is that correct? Yeah.
And actually, just so everyone knows, Edwin, are you wanting to be in the rotation or no?
Yes, I can be in it, but I'm dealing with this technical stuff, so it's
So
great.
you don't
that
want to
choose.
now. Okay,
Not
so
this
go ahead.
moment. Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So my values and how it's related to empathy. I think the first value is almost the most important one is caring, like caring to my family, take care of myself or take caring of other. And being in empathy circle, I always thought that caring of other just when they are speaking to find a solution to what they are talking about. So I just caught in my thoughts and my idea and forget to listen. But when I start the empathy circle, I find myself, when I really listen to other, I have the whole picture of it.
Thanks, Mona. What I heard was one of the most important values for you is care or caring for others, whether it's your family, friends, or people around you or yourself. And that by really trying to be caring and also leveraging empathic skills to be caring is trying not to jump to conclusions when you are listening to another person talking about their issues or problems. Rather, really deeply listen to what they're saying instead of responding with your own advice or solutions, so that you can really show that you care, but also to really understand what they're going through.
Yes, and the empathy circle is kind of equal, give like us equal time to speak. So I'm interested in equality, like to be accept to the other person and have equal rights. And during the empathy circle, we have equal time to speak, equal time to listen. So if in real world we have this skill, just I will give you 5 minutes to present all your idea, all your opinion, and then I will reflect that to better understand, and then we will take turn. You will give me 5 minutes to say what I want to say without interruption, and you will reflect what I'm saying. So we both will have a better understanding for each other and have equality to speak.
I'll try my best to reflect.
I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize, please. I hear that equality is important to you. And I'm getting that you feel if everyone has the equal opportunity to fully express themselves, they feel the fairness in the conversation or in the dialogue structure, that there's a flow of empathy back and forth in the conversation, and it becomes a more constructive dialogue.
Yes. Yes, that's correct. It will end with my third value, which is helping other people. So if I deep listen to other people express themselves, and they deep listen to me, and I really speak, we can find a way to help each other, like
So I heard that by truly listening to the other person with the intention of helping, but not obstructing their thoughts or internal thought process, you can then be truly helpful because you understand what the other person is trying to say, and you can better identify a solution that would really help them.
Yes, thank you. I I really fully heard. I feel fully heard you. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks.
Okay, Lala, your turn.
Okay, perfect. Edwin, are you still dealing with technical?
I'm here. I'm ready. Yeah, listening.
Thank you. All right. Well, the dialogue is getting more interesting. So I'm getting more excited as I listen to everyone sharing and talking about their values. So I think once the empathy circle gets started, it becomes more and more interesting and it gets my thoughts flowing.
Yeah, so you're feeling excited because you're hearing other people's values and you just think, oh, the empathy circle gets more interesting as people share and you can your ideas start flowing and you get excited.
Yeah. It also becomes a little bit harder because I have to keep track of my own thoughts while really paying attention to what everybody else is sharing. So that's something I need to learn and practice in this session, as well as the next 4 sessions, and also during my own time.
So you're noticing that listening to others and holding on to your own thoughts and sort of managing that's something you want to learn, and you want to learn that over the next couple sets during the training.
Yeah, definitely. What I found very interesting, sort of reflecting on what everyone shared was, I guess going back to actually Lou's point, being honest with yourself. I do feel having that acute awareness of your own emotions and judgments and thoughts in the moment as you're listening to the other person can help you identify the obstacles of really being able to listen to what the other person is saying.
So you sense that if you can be aware of your own feelings, your own judgments, that's going to contribute to your listening to the other person better?
Yes. And so I feel like what everyone said in terms of, like what we value, they all tie in together perfectly, because being honest with yourself helps you to be more caring. You're acutely aware of your own thoughts, judgments, whatever that may come between you and the other person's viewpoints or what they're trying to express. And then you can truly move past yourself, your emotions, your thoughts, to reach out to the other person and show that you care.
So you're seeing that the importance of being sort of that self-aware of your feelings and of your judgments, that if you can be aware of those, you can sort of remove them and listen better. So that kind of will help you to listen to the other person better.
Yes. Yeah, and for me, we all have different values, but I think empathy, it sits in the middle of all the values that we have. It helps to amplify all the other values that we have, and it helps us to develop, principles and strategies so that we can show value, demonstrate our own values in our actions.
So you're seeing sort of the centrality of empathy, that it helps you to share your own values as well as maybe connect with the others around you. So there was something about a centrality of empathy.
Yes. And oh, there's my time. Thank you.
Okay, great. Then I'll speak to Wayne. Right.
Did you feel heard, Lala?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Heard
great.
enough, heard well enough. So speak to Wayne. When Lala,
Is that all right with you, Wayne? Do you feel ready for that?
Okay.
Yep.
When Lala spoke before, she talked about creativity, one of her values being creativity. And I've thought that, you know, what is the motivation for like an empathy movement? You know, what's the emotional, you know, payback sort of, or positive? And then it could be creativity, that if we can really ground the empathy movement in creativity, that would be a real way to kind of spread it.
What I heard you say, Edwin, was that what Marla was talking about was one of her values was creativity. And one thing you thought about was that the empathy movement could perhaps ground that that creativity and bring it out.
Yeah, because there's different movements. There's movements, kind of political movements is winning is kind of what gets you in the power, right? It's kind of like the payoff. We got the power, man. That's motivating us to do all this work. And the empathy movement is, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to kind of open up these creative feelings. And creativity is fun, right? You get these emotional jolts of insight and stuff. And that's a real sort of a draw. So.
Yeah, what I heard you say then, Edwin, was that if we look at the political motivations of politics, it's about winning and those sorts of things, whereas with empathy, it's more about creating an environment where the motivation can be the creation or the facilitation, the expansion of creativity. That gets everybody excited.
Yeah, what the picture is coming up to me is like big time wrestling, right? Or any kind of a sports. They do all this effort, all this work, and then when they win, it's like, yeah, I won. It's like it's like they're getting all charged up because they, you know, put a ball through a hoop or something. You know? Versus, you know, doing something creative where you're working together with people with be a whole different motivation, you know, than having that. Yeah, so that's just something.
Yeah, and what I heard you say, Edwin, was that that I'm feeling a sense of excitement coming through about the fact that if we look at sports or big time wrestling, all this energy and excitement comes from the process of winning, and yeah. Whereas if we look at what empathy circles are perhaps trying to create is the creativity in others and sort of, yeah, I was going to add something in there myself, but I've stopped doing that.
Okay, great.
So, yeah, that's what
Excellent.
I heard you say.
Yeah, so it's was it the yeah, I lost my train of thought from there. It's like with design, human-centered design, the first step is you kind of empathize with people to hear the situation and the problems, and then you go into creativity mode and you have sort of wild ideas kind of come up. And it's a lot of fun just to think of crazy, wild ideas. It's very pleasurable, right? So, you know, really tie that in with the empathy movement. I think it'd be very powerful to be able to do that.
What I heard you say then is that as humans, our initial responsibility, I suppose, is the need. Are you hearing the boarding call for the aeroplane, or is?
It's okay. Yeah, I do hear it, but that's okay.
Okay. What I heard you say was that. Oh, now I've lost it.
With design, with being empathy, and then the creativity kind of being the next step was kind of the essence.
Yeah. So yeah, what I heard you say is that is what empathy circles can create is that opportunity for the creativity to be developed and fostered by this environment that is the empathy circles.
I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Lou, wondering
Yeah.
if you would like to listen.
I would. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to start firstly off by making a huge apology. I got stuck on a shuttle this morning. I was hoping to be here earlier, so that's my apology.
Yeah, so you just want everyone to know that you're sorry that you came in late. You had some things happen that you couldn't avoid, and so you want everyone to know that how you feel about that.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, empathy circles, or values, first of all. I think if I explain why I got into the research area of empathy in the first place, it'll probably indicate, and then I'll flesh out where the values fit in.
Yeah, so when you think about the values that are important to you and how they relate to empathy, you're kind of moved to talk a little bit about how you got involved in researching empathy. You think that's a good place to start?
Yeah, okay. So what got me interested in empathy was looking for the key relational mechanisms that enabled successful, in my case of the research, was successful teaching and relationship building. And the key relational mechanism that I saw across many fields was the ability to interpret somebody else accurately, and then use that interpretation to be able to feed back to them appropriately.
Yeah, so you're really interested in teaching and in relationship building, and you studied what makes people successful at that. And what you found out, or what you saw, was a key thing was being able to understand another person and helping them feel understood, letting them know that you understood them. That turned out to be a key factor.
Yeah. So now I want to draw that into a lot of the literature, a lot of the talk. There's a lot of talk in society, and a lot of talk around about the importance of empathy. But what I hadn't found up until now was very good ways to help somebody to develop better abilities at being empathic.
So what you're aware of is there's a lot of talk about empathy. In other words, people saying that it's important, but not a lot of understanding about how to help people actually become empathic and be empathic with each other.
And if I draw now back to sort of society, is the environment, the social environments we've created in society are actually very detrimental to the development of interpersonal empathy. The speeding up of communication, the environment whereby we've created a competitive environment, which it was interesting what Edwin was talking about. I think he's right on the button there, is that we've got a society focused on winning, and I better pause there.
Yeah, so you're saying that that when you look at it, you see a lot of the attributes of the society that we've created and the norms that are part of that don't really support people being empathic with each other, and that we have a culture, or there's pretty a widespread cultural elements that support competition and winning, and you don't think that really supports a culture of empathy.
Yeah, and therefore, if I follow into why I am quite, I'll catch it next round.
No, it's okay. Finish your thought.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So very quickly, the reason why I've become quite impassioned, I suppose, about empathy circles is that the empathy circles create this environment where everything's slowed down. You're not interrupted. Somebody's practicing the ability to listen. It's got all the elements of yeah. We should actually be creating the world as an empathy circle, not just empathy circles to practice it.
Yeah, so you're saying that what you see is that the structural elements of the empathy circle, taking turns speaking, reflecting, that slows things down, and it makes it mutual, and it's practicing people understanding each other. All of those attributes you think are the right elements, and we need a culture that reflects those. That's what you would like to see.
I feel fully heard. Thank you very much, Luke.
Great, thank you. So let's see. I will go to Trey. So I'm very excited to meet Wayne and to hear you talk about your research. It's very cool to me and exciting to have someone who's thought so carefully and studied in a rigorous way things that are so kind of feeling based, like empathy. That combination is very exciting to me.
So you're excited to have met Wayne and to know that Wayne has been working so in depth on the topic of empathy, and it makes you feel, and sorry.
Yeah, that you got it, Trey. And the other little piece was that he's examining empathy and its benefits in a very rigorous way. And that was my other point.
Okay, so he's examining empathy in a rigorous way.
Yeah, which often people who love empathy and who try to promote empathy, they're not very rigorous people. They're squishy and warm and fuzzy, which is fine too. I don't have any problem with people who are warm and fuzzy, but it's beautiful actually to see that combining of rigor and warmth, and empathic warmth.
So it's good to see the approach from a rigorous and warm approach place. Usually people are more intense or than more, well, you said rigorous, and
the other word I used was squishy.
Squishy.
Yeah.
I was trying to find a different word for that.
Yeah.
But squishy, you're squishy.
Yeah.
Rigorous and squishy on the topic, and is like a breath of fresh air to see an approach that embodies both the rigorous and the more relaxed way.
Yeah, thank you. See, where do I want to go with the conversation? I'm just really enjoying the conversation and getting to know each of you well through this. Yeah, I'll stop there.
Okay. So you were questioning where to go with this conversation, and you checked in with your appreciation of the conversation, and you're excited to see where we can go with it.
Yeah, and that I'm loving getting to know each of you through the conversation. That's important to me.
You're loving getting to know each of us.
Yeah. I also think I was really interested in Edwin's point about, what can be the source of energy for a movement of empathy, and his pointing out that winning is often the motivation, and could creativity could igniting creativity, could that be the motivation for culture of empathy? I think that's a really interesting thought.
You're also interested in what Edwin had to talk about in terms on creativity as it relates to creativity and the movement of the empathy movement. Yeah, what I felt was you were kind of thinking about it as you were saying it and feeling into the possibilities of what could be if
Yeah,
it's explored in that.
yeah, and it interests me because, you know, when I talk to people about empathy or about empathy circles, one of the things I'm trying to do is find a way to interest them in it or help them see the value in it. And I've never used the framing, well, empathy circles are good because they unleash creativity. You know, if you want to be a more creative organization or a more creative person, that's one of the reasons to do it. And I think that's a great argument. And I think there's some truth to it.
So usually when you approach a person about it, you think of you like to think of ways that would influence them to want to be a part of the empathy circling. And you never thought that, you know, maybe it could be a good idea to use the aspect of creativity. Maybe as you go on, as you practice empathy, you know, you could explore your creativity.
Yes.
So you're thinking to add that to your approach. You're considering adding it to your approach.
Yes. Thank you for hearing me. I feel heard.
Thank you. Okay. I'll go to Lala.
I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay, so I've been noticing for myself that I've been noticing for myself how hard it is for me to mirror the, I guess, the speaker's experience, but I'm not understanding why. And I've been like, as I've been observing everybody out speaking and listening, I think, you know, it's helping me to get to a place of understanding the question of why am I not able to, I guess, to effectively, for me, knowing my own capability of reflecting, of mirroring. Right, so basically I've been, let me reframe that.
Pause there. You want to pause there?
Okay, I'll pause it.
Okay.
Thanks, Trey. I heard that you think the empathy circle structure and the practice that we're doing right now helps you to understand the skills that you need to learn to improve, to enhance your empathic skills and to be more empathic and to more effectively listen and reflect on what others had said.
So I feel heard better than than I spoke. Thank you. Yes, thanks for that clarity, actually. Um, yes, and I know that this has been the recurring issue for me, you know. I guess the staying engaged, and it helps me to, I get, as as I'm sitting with it now with a deeper understanding through everybody in this space, through everybody's mirroring and speaking, you know, I kind of seeing where it is for me, like what's sticking out for me, and I think what I notice is it could be distractions of every, like distractions, yeah. I pin it to distractions.
So by observing everyone sharing and reflecting in the empathy circle, it helps you to further understand that some of the obstacles for you when it comes to empathic listening or sharing, because there are many distractions around you that may prevent you from fully listening or paying attention or expressing yourself.
I feel heard.
Okay, so that's time.
Thank you for listening, Lala.
Thank you. Mona, would you be my listener?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, I feel very excited about this conversation, and as everyone starts to share more about their thoughts and experiences, I'm starting to feel inspired even by the conversation.
I hear that you're feeling very excited about the conversation, and even when everyone else sharing their experience and thoughts, you feel inspiring.
Yes, I feel very inspired. Something that I didn't think about, which was brought up in today's conversation, is that, you know, how do we treat empathy as a more serious subject? It could be, you know, the study of empathy, the science of empathy, it could be the neuroscience of empathy, but also looking at empathy in a social and historical context. So treating it as its own subject rather than tagging it on when studying other things, you know, whether it's studying emotional intelligence or psychology, you know, sort of tagging on the aspect of empathy rather than doing that, treating empathy as its own subject worthy of research and sort of more serious study where you devote resources and time to understand what it is.
Yeah, something you never thought about it is like why we do not treat empathy as science, like neuroempathy or its own subject, and do research on empathy rather than just discuss empathy during psychology or other field. Like why we can treat empathy as its own subject, make more research and make more research about it.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Try my best.
Yeah. Where am I going with this? The other thing that I found very interesting, kind of like bouncing off of what Edwin was talking about, you know, adding creativity to the process of learning and practicing empathy, right? From my experience, and I can only speak from my experience, I think creativity or creative skills can be leveraged or used as a vehicle to expand and spread empathy in our society. So rather than, you know, to me, creativity is a value that'll hold near and dear to my heart. But when it comes to empathy or how it relates to empathy, I feel like empathy is the drive, whereas the creativity or my creative skills are the tools that I use to promote and spread empathy.
So you creativity is something is very important to you, and you see like creativity is a tool to promote and spread the empathy during the world. Like you see the empathy is a drive and your creativity is a tool to like spread empathy around the world and use the creativity and promote empathy to other people and other places.
Yes. For example, I think it's very creative, the structure of the empathy circle, right? It provides a structured format to facilitate meaningful conversations and dialogue. So I think creativity can be used to design and develop learning experiences and opportunities to really help us learn how to be more empathic.
Yeah, so I hear that you give an example about how to use creativity during the empathy circle, because empathy circle in itself have a creativity way during the conversation between people, and you wish that you can use creativity during this to have like a new subject or to make it more effective, I think.
Yeah, to create more learning experiences that has a strong focus on empathy and promoting empathy.
Yeah, to keep I'll try to say to keep like learning experience, like to bring learning experience to promote empathy.
Thank you.
Edwin, can you be my listener?
Yep, listening.
So in the beginning, I'm sorry if I'm distracted when other people are talking because it's a weekend and my lovely twins here and they try their best to get my attention during when I'm talking to other people. It's forbidden for me.
Yeah, so it's the weekend and you're apologizing that your children are trying to get your attention too. So you're sort of apologizing if you don't have full attention for everyone.
So for me, Empathy Circle, it's like I start to be part of an Empathy Circle like 2 months now. And I started when I was in a very low point in my depression and a very high point in my anxiety. But during the Empathy Circle, even it's from the first time, I feel relief. Like I feel connecting to each other or connecting to other people with other culture. And I'm just sitting there listening or speaking about a subject that I never thought about. And in somehow that make me after the 2 hour, I feel relaxed. And this is something didn't happen to me in 2 years.
Yeah, so you're just sharing that you were feeling 2 months ago, before you did the Empathy Circle, you were feeling depressed and feeling a lot of anxiety. And then you took part in an Empathy Circle and you're here talking to people, listening to people from all over the world. And suddenly you're just starting to feel much better and just feel better.
Yeah, I think because in Empathy Circle, you are not worried about other people judging you. And you don't, or they will misunderstand your word because you speak very slowly for like 2 or 3 sentences, and then they reflect what you really saying without their thought. And that give me, because I always have an anxiety to talk to people because I just stop there and thinking, okay, what they will thought about me or what their judgment, or they will accept me. But in Empathy Circle, I found like, I know that the other people, the listener is just here to listen to me without judging me. And that's, like I told you more than once, in Empathy Circle, give me a safe space to express my feeling and myself.
Yeah, so you're just noticing sort of dynamics of the empathy circle for you, that when you speak to people outside of the circle, you're feeling anxiety. Will you be understood? Will they be judging you? But in the empathy circle, you have a sense that you're just feeling heard and understood, and that helps relieve that anxiety, and you just don't feel like you're judged.
Yeah, and I really wish to doing this Empathy Circle when I start teaching again, like with my student and even with other teachers, like to really sit there and talking about our problems and what we can do about them in education and in our life. And I think it will be more than debate. It will be just we sitting there fully listening, fully heard, like we listen to each other, we have an opportunity to speak, and then we can have like a whole picture, and we can really find a solution to the problems that we are facing in education in general.
Yeah, so I'm hearing that you'd really like to apply this with other fellow teachers, do empathy circles, as well as students. And if you could do this, it takes it out of a debate. It's not a debate, but you can really sort of work together to problem solve and, improve education.
Yeah, feel fully heard. Thank you.
Okay, great. Then speak to Lou.
Okay.
Yeah, you always say, "Oh, I really love this." I'm just thinking, I really love it too. It's just so rich and insightful, and just very heartwarming just to hear everybody's what they're sharing.
So you were just really enjoying the conversation, and it's reminding you that I often say how much I like it, and so you're resonating with that, but you're just really satisfied with what's happening.
Yeah. So with that, I feel fully heard. Yeah.
Okay. So Wayne, would you listen to me?
Yes, I'm here and listening.
Okay. Yeah, what's strong in me is the joy that I feel when I see the smile that happens on people's faces when they feel heard. And I've noticed that in the circle. There is what I judge as a deep satisfaction, like a pleasure and satisfaction when someone recognizes that, like, they're being understood. And I feel so much joy when I see that.
Yeah, what I heard you say, Lou, was that you really enjoy the deep sense of satisfaction and enjoyment that people experience when they're engaging in empathy circles, and that gives you an immense sense of satisfaction.
Yeah, and it isn't just so much empathy circles as when a person feels heard, and that happens a lot in empathy circles, and it's happening here. But yeah, it doesn't only happen in empathy circles; it can happen other places too. But it's what happens when someone feels like they're feeling heard.
Yeah, what I can hear you say there is that you really enjoy. Well, it's not just in empathy circles. It's more about when people feel fully heard, that they that sense of satisfaction that you feel coming through, and that's what really makes you excited.
Yeah, thank you. I think with that, I feel fully heard. It's your turn.
Okay. I will choose Lala. Would you like to be my listener?
Of course.
Okay. You've probably seen a lot of changes of venue as I've been going around. I've been trying to find in the airport somewhere where it's actually quiet.
You're searching in the airport for a quiet location so you can participate.
Yes. But interestingly, I always see every opportunity. I'm just a born researcher, I'm afraid. And every opportunity gives me an opportunity to reflect on what I've experienced. And even though I've been going from here to there to thinking about this, I actually feel as though I have been listening more and able to understand more because of the structure of the empathy circle than if I had been in a normal conversation in a quiet area. I feel I've understood better with all the distractions than if I'd been with a group of people who were just discussing something.
Even though you've been moving about a lot, the structure of the empathy circle has provided you a way to fully listen and pay attention to what everyone is saying, and also to have a very meaningful, you're able to pay more attention to what everyone is sharing, and you also feel that you're being heard, even though there are a lot of distractions around you.
And what I want to draw back to is what a few people have been saying. I think picking up on what Edwin was talking about, which was often the motivation of people is competition to be the best company, those sorts of things. And then drawing back to you, I think, Lala, who talked about perhaps empathy being more front and center rather than being a tag on, is I think it's just a revisioning of empathy. You can actually host it within a competitive environment by creating the view that to be more competitive, it's about interpersonal relationships. And the better you are at those, the higher the level of performance your organization is going to have. And I certainly know the research field in empathy certainly sees the empathic process as not just a key mechanism, but an essential mechanism to interpersonal relations.
So you believe that for organizations who put empathy front and center would allow them to be more competitive and build stronger interpersonal relationships. And to Edwin's point, people are trying to be, one of the motivations that drives a lot of us is competition and winning, but being competitive and empathic don't have to be mutually exclusive. By becoming more empathic and have more empathy within your organization or have more empathic skills, it allows you to be better and in a way positively competitive.
And if I draw to what you were talking about, Mona, is the issue of the anxiety, perhaps rumination, all those sorts of things, is and result in depression. I do work for a mental health organization, I suppose you call it, and the empathy circle actually in many ways creates the environment for healthier thinking and communication. And that's once again, just like you identified, winding down the situation, making it you have the opportunity or me having the opportunity to say what I feel without judgment. All those sorts of things are positive for that. So it's very interesting to hear an example of where the Empathy Circle has been effective. I thought it would have been effective in that area, but to hear a concrete example is wonderful.
So based on Mona's experience, she offered a very concrete example of how empathy and the structure of Empathy Circle can promote a person's health and well-being by allowing them to release some of the anxieties and also to fully express themselves, feeling understood, feeling heard. And it helps to contribute to one's mental health and overall well-being.
That's awesome, Lala. Thank you, Lala. I feel fully heard.
Thank you, Wayne.
So we have about 10 minutes left, and I'd like to, rather than continue taking turns, I'd like to have just a few minutes to debrief what we did together and to answer any questions that you might have about facilitation or about any of the things that you saw me do as a facilitator.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
I just curious to know if there's any tips or any ways of finding that place of presence, continuous presence while listening. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd be interested to hear what other people have to say about this too, because everybody has different ways of doing it. I would say, well, breathing is a good tool. So if I'm feeling anxious, or if I start to feel something about what's being said, breathing is the thing that I typically do to try to calm myself and bring myself back to center. And then the other thing I would say I do is recognize, like, if there's a voice inside me that's saying something to me. Usually if I'm feeling anxious or I'm starting to get upset, it's because I'm telling myself something like, I'm screwing up, or I can't do this, or there's some negative self-talk going on. And I thank it because it's trying to protect me in some way, like it's trying to protect me from failing or something. So I say, thank you very much, but it's not helping me right now. And then I try to listen to a more supportive voice that says, you've done this before, you know what you're doing, just relax, remember to breathe, you're okay, you can do this. So those are, I think, that's my internal, that's basically how I manage my internal life. Does anyone else have something that they do that they would like to add? Edwin?
I have one is if I'm feeling anxious, or is to actually share it. Like when it's my turn to speak, I say, hey, I'm feeling really anxious. I feel like I'm really messing up here. And then I get a reflection, oh, you're feeling anxious. You really feel you're messing up. And somehow for it to be heard by others kind of calms it down. So that's something I like, yeah.
Lala?
So my question is, as a trainer and a facilitator, how do you encourage participants without interfering?
Before I answer that question, does anyone else want to add anything to how you handle your internal, what goes on for you internally? No? Okay. Did that answer your question, Trey?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. So Lala, so your question was, how do you encourage participation without interfering? So so probably the biggest thing is patience, being patient. I think that the structure of the circle encourages participation because everybody gets a turn. Now, if it comes to someone's turn and they say, oh, you know, I don't think I can speak, like I'm not comfortable speaking, I would normally just give the person empathy for that. So I would say, so I hear it's your turn to speak, and I hear you're saying you're really not comfortable speaking. Is that right? Did I get that right? And then they might say, yeah, I don't want to speak. And so you're thinking you don't want to speak, like you would like not want to speak right now is your turn. Yeah. So if and then I might, depending on the person, and I use my judgment about this. It's a judgment thing, whether I would encourage them just a little bit. So is there anything that you want to say, like maybe one sentence? Totally accepting that they will say no, or then it's fine if they don't. So I'm not trying to force them to do it. But sometimes just that little bit of interaction will actually bring something up for the person, and they'll start talking about why they don't want to speak or why they feel like they can't do it, and then that will become the subject of what they are talking about. And other times I have had people say, you know, I'm not comfortable doing that, and that's their turn. So then but then when it comes around to them again, they might be in a different place the next time. So is that the kind of encouragement you're talking about, or something else?
I was also thinking about when you said, you know, slightly encouraging the other person. Is it not appropriate to ask leading questions, or to kind of put thoughts in people's head, or to suggest topics for them to speak about? Is that something that the trainer or the facilitator should not do in an empathy circle? An example would be if I say, Lou, I really don't know what to say. And then you might ask me, Lala, like, how about, you know, like, what do you think, what are your thoughts on what Mona had just shared? Or a type of question like that. Is that not encouraged for the facilitator to do?
So, well, it's certainly not for the reflector to do. Is it for the facilitator to do? So I think the way I would respond to that is, as the facilitator, if I think what they're saying is they're not understanding the process, then I would make a comment about the process. Like, yeah, you can talk about whatever you want. The theme is this, but you don't have to talk about it. And if the person said something about like having an opinion about what someone else said, I could say, yeah, you could talk about it. If you want to talk about what someone else said, that's okay to do. But that's really more if I think they're not understanding the process and they're saying they don't know what to say because of that. If they're saying they don't know what to say because it's their turn to speak and like, well, I have no idea what I'm going to say, then I just say, okay, well, it's okay to just sit in silence too until something comes up. And I might encourage them to do that. It's fine to sit in silence till something comes up.
Wayne's got his
okay,
hand
Wayne.
up.
Yeah, go ahead, Wayne.
It's been quite interesting because I've been using the empathy circles within a teaching and learning environment, and I've just been using it both as an experiential learning tool and as a teaching tool. So as the facilitator, I've actually been I've outlined the process, and with a group of four or five kids, and then we've gone through sort of one cycle. Even before that, I've sort of talked to them about the fact of, you might feel this urge to butt in. You might feel an urge to that when it comes around to your turn, you feel anxious about wanting to speak, that you don't know what to talk about. Now, one of the interesting things is once we've done a circle, there have been those experiences we've gone to one of the students and oh, I don't know what to say, and they're very embarrassed, or they just don't know how to generate something to talk about. They're usually the ones that don't know what to write about when they're writing a story. But what I do is I then pause it and say to them, okay, I want you to have a think about an area for you to work on in the next cycle. So for some students, they're working on controlling that urge to butt in because they can never be shut up, probably what I would be like. For other students, I sort of say to them, look, it's okay, whatever you say, and encourage them, and then support them to be more participatory the next round. Then we'll do another round. So it's actually building the skills to be good participants. The teaching aspect of is scaffolding them to be good participants in an empathy circle, but then learning also the experiences of being in an empathy circle. So is that appropriate?
Yeah, thanks, Wayne. I think those are great suggestions. And I was not imagining the age, I was not imagining young kids, like junior high school kids, where I actually might do what you're describing to help them feel more comfortable. I also think that something that happens is people have trouble thinking, or they're afraid of expressing themselves because they're experiencing a lot of fear. They're worried about judgment. They're worried about whether they're going to be accepted or not. And as the empathy circle proceeds, people see that it is safe and they can say whatever. But again, that's going to be different with younger kids, like junior high and high school age kids, than with adults.
It's very, very similar. But what you're able to do with those students is, well, in fact, you should do it all people.
Sorry, everybody's coming back. Don't want to interrupt you, but everybody's back in the room here. So we're going to move on. I closed the room. You can't see it on the cell phone. You're only seeing one person, but the whole group is here. So we want to turn it over to.
Thanks, Wayne.
Yeah, we'll pick it up that later. It was a great topic. Turn it over to Timothy, right? Is that you're doing this part?
Yes. Greetings. Welcome back, everybody. Hi. We're at the end of our little group. We had a little celebration because we got to practice together, and we're going from me to we, from just me to we. I made that up. We're having fun. Okay. Greetings. Now, what we'd like to do for this next section, for about the next 20-25 minutes, is to harvest a little bit where we can share our experience and our insights, maybe little learnings from the Empathy Circle. And we'd love to hear from each of us, maybe for a minute or a little bit less. What did you come up with? What, maybe learning about the process itself, but also what about your values and building a culture of empathy, your values, building a culture of empathy, or you can share whatever's alive for you in this moment, of course. So I'd like to call on people so we can move it along faster. And we'll go for a little bit less than a minute. I'll do a little timeout or wave at you, or actually I'll have a little bell go off at the end of each of your time. And so just consider, please, what you'd like to share, what's most alive for you now about your values, a culture of empathy, or anything around the Empathy Circle. And on my screen, let's see here, Mona. Hi, Mona. Go ahead, share whatever you would like here about your values, culture of empathy, or anything.
As usual, like as every Empathy Circle I found myself having a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas, and really connected to other people. Like I finished the empathy, like I started the Empathy Circle with one idea or two, and at the end of it, I found myself, this was a good point, like everything in Empathy Circle, all of our values as human beings, whenever we are coming from what we have experienced, it's all coming together to improve humanity, I guess. So it's always a pleasure to be part of Empathy Circle, because it's making me gain more valuables about life and more understanding about other people. So I really appreciated the opportunity.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mona, for expressing yourself. And next on my screen is Lala. Greetings. What would you like to share about what you learned or what you came up with?
Sure. I feel energized and inspired by the new perspectives and ideas that I learned in the Empathy Circle. I also feel valued and respected because often at work, or just my day-to-day life, I feel there are times where my emotions and my thoughts are not respected. They are often being ignored and rejected, whereas Empathy Circle really provided me with a structure where I feel fully heard, but also as a person relating to my values, when I'm expressing my values, I am being respected by everyone in the Empathy Circle. So that was a very good feeling, and I feel great.
Yeah, wonderful. A very good feeling and a smile to show for it. Great. Thank you very much. And next on my screen is Trey. Greetings, Trey.
Greetings. I guess I've had a roller coaster of emotions going through the circling. I gained a lot of insight from the group that I was in. What I observed is everyone was having an experience, an individual experience, and it was being cared for. And I find a lot of value in that, and it makes me excited and ready to move forward and understand the process more and, be able to facilitate it.
Wonderful. A roller coaster ride coming down from the roller coaster. All right. Thanks, Trey. And let's see here. Wayne, you're next in line there. Please express yourself.
Here we go. Actually, I'm going to go back to another screen here. Here we go. That's better. Empathy circles. I'm an empathy academic, I suppose. I'm a researcher in empathy, and a lot of what I've done has been looking at empathy from an academic perspective, and there's not a lot around. There's a lot around the benefits of empathy as a social relational mechanism. But what Empathy Circles has enabled me to experience is a practical example where empathy is actually developed.
I'm sorry, your sound broke up. Empathy is what?
Empathy circles provide an environment where the empathic skills can practically be developed. And I'm just learning so much the more I'm engaging in empathy circles, and I'm so excited about the field. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Wayne. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Going to our next participants there. Elizabeth in Indianapolis.
So kind of, I have a lot of the same thoughts as Lala had. Like, for example, whenever I'm at work, which is pretty much my only social interaction right now, I have to choose what I share with each different person that I work with, because I know that a lot of people are dismissive of certain feelings or perspectives that I have. Not that everybody should agree with everything I'm saying, but I feel like when I'm expressing an emotion, I can't even do that to a lot of people because they don't get it and they don't care, or they think it's silly. So it was really nice just to be able to talk and just have somebody say, yeah, I get what you're saying, or I hear you. And also it was really nice to listen to the other people in the group. I often feel like I'm the only one who's sharing all my feelings. So it was nice to hear other people's perspectives as well.
Cool. Thank you so much for expressing yourself, Elizabeth. Appreciate it. And Shaila Raj.
Yes.
Um, I really appreciated the opportunity to practice in the empathy circles. And by practicing both active and silent listening, I learned from others. I accepted others and their opinions and their experiences, and I was able to connect with others. The one thing I found, I caught myself actually, was sometimes I would just get a little too complicated when I was the speaker. And let's say the listener couldn't understand it, what I said, and would ask me to repeat. It happened once. And then I realized that I really have to aim to speak simply and clearly, because otherwise I was not able to repeat what I had just said because I hadn't heard myself. When I speak, I sometimes don't even hear myself. So, so I thought that was pretty profound for me to realize that yes, I'm aware of my needs and feelings, but in order to communicate to someone else, it has to be kept at a very simplistic level.
Yeah. Thank you so
That was
much.
a big learning point for me.
Yeah, wonderful. Really appreciating the learning, how we kind of learn this from each other and with each other, and like in it, we learn it as we do it. Thank you. Let's see here. Gloria, go ahead. What would you like to express?
Every empathy circle is a positive one for me, and I hope it stays that way. Yeah, actually, now that Shayla mentioned, I think I find a very I think my attention span could be a bit short. After a few moments of time, I find my mind going astray sometimes, and then I have to bring myself back to the scene again. So I hope empathy circle trainings could, help me lengthen that a bit and be a bit more conscious in my thinking, grabbing myself back to the conversation that I'm placed in. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for expressing that. More learning and like learning edges of growth and seeing where we can go. Yeah, thank you. And let's see, Magali, did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
So I've learned a lot from this circle, especially at the end when Bill gave us an insight of like how safety plays a role in in the empathy circles. Just because it's like safety is like a fundamental of building of the circle. And he also mentioned like how you would like uh, communicate to a person that's kind of like erupting the empathy circle in a way. So I thought that was really insightful. So thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Magali. Right on. Joni, go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, so similar to Magali, I thought it was interesting. At the end, we just talked about when safety breaks down and the circle can break up, like what do you need to do as a facilitator? And so now I'm just feeling really nervous about like what happens if I'm in those. I mean, he said it's kind of like 0.1%, but circles where people can just become really threatening and aggressive on the call. Like what do you do? I don't feel prepared at all to know what to do in that situation. So that's on my mind. But another thing we talked about today is that it's okay if you don't know what to say. Like after switching from the listener to speaker, sometimes that can feel pretty abrupt, and it's okay to just kind of sit in silence for a bit while you develop your thoughts. So that was nice to hear, because I find that transition kind of difficult.
Thank you, Joni. So appreciating looking at those more learnings and what's scary going forward. Got 4 more weeks to practice. And Alyssa, go ahead.
Hi. Well, in my group, we're talking about the importance of empathy in term within education, and I just liked seeing all the different, even though like we had we were like circulating around the same around the same themes. It was interesting to hear people's viewpoints, and that's what I really like about the empathy circles. It's always nice.
Mhm. Wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, being enriched by different perspectives. Thanks, Alyssa. Monica, go ahead.
So I feel in community with my group, we were able to discuss some of our everyday struggles. And I realized that there's power in being vulnerable because we were able to feel a sense of comfort from each other.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Monica. And Savannah. Oh, your mic isn't working for some reason, Savannah. Maybe it became unplugged or something.
Is it working now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I really enjoyed our conversation. I personally talked about some anxiety I have with sharing, and then also with keeping my attention, like you were saying, Gloria. I see myself, my mind wander. And so I got some comfort in knowing that I wasn't alone in that, and some helpful ways to not prevent that, but be more kind to myself when I begin to lose my attention.
Super. Wonderful to hear that. Anything else there? You have another half a minute. Anything else? No?
Nope, that's basically it. I just really enjoyed it. So
yeah, cool. Good. And Daniel.
I'm just thankful for the empathy circles and especially for the structure that it sets. It's something that you don't usually find outside of, in the regular, day-to-day work or day-to-day, life. And this structure really helps, calm my mind as I am trying to listen to the active speaker. One of the things that I want to improve upon is actively listening when, like, even if I'm not the active speaker or active listener. I think that's something that I found in this circle that I'd like to improve upon next time.
Wonderful. Thanks, Daniel. And Dominic.
Yeah, hi. My group had a really good chemistry. I had a really good time today. We dove pretty deep, and we all seemed to be matching similar levels. And an insight I got from this was it helped me to think about every speaker as having their own story, and I was an active listener, following the narrative of the story and not trying to rewrite what they say in a different arc, if that makes sense. So like 3 weeks ago when I first did this, I had my mind going and trying to keep up with everything and trying to recite it. And then last week I kind of toned down the mind and it's easier, but now it's kind of like following that arc is what helped me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dominic. Those are all our training participants. Unless I missed anybody, and double check. Trainers, did I miss anybody? Anybody? Okay. We do have a few more minutes here. I'd love to hear from the trainers, just in terms of your experience and learnings about the culture value of empathy. And Lou, you're right at the top of my screen here. Do you have anything to share about your experience?
Sure. Yeah. So first, I'd like to thank the people who are in the group with me. We were debriefing right up to the end and got pulled out of the room, and I didn't get a chance to express appreciation for you, the three of you, or the four of you. And so just so grateful to do that process with you and to learn together. I think actually an insight that I got out of our session, one of them, was something that Edwin said, which is that empathy can be a spark for creativity. And because when you're feeling understood, you get opened up in ways. And so I never thought of framing it that way, as a way of telling someone about the value of empathy, or trying to help an organization or a group decide to do an empathy circle. And that might be a reason to give, would be that it makes the group more creative. And so that was a great insight.
Wow, wonderful, cool. And Kelly, what's your experience or anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, Yeah, it was good. I like have like all these mental models that always, you know, I always like interpret the world through them. And so yeah, it's always cool when the circle brings some of those things up, and like everything seems like coherent. And yeah, it's just cool to one thing I heard Edwin say once is that this process is where you're just like going along with someone on their journey, you know, accompanying them. And so I got that kind of vibe today. So yeah, it's good. I enjoyed it.
Cool. Thanks, Kelly. Let's see here. Susan, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just getting to know some wonderful people. I feel like we could talk all day because people unfold as they have a chance to speak and to be listened to. And I feel like taking my hat off to Edwin for attracting these amazing people who will help spread empathy. And I might take my other hat off to Kelly, who suggested that we take a 5-minute break about 45 minutes into it. And we were all kind of relieved to get the tea and to take care of the physical body and whatever. And how disheartening it is to be around a group of people who don't agree with us and have different values, but also don't seem interested in our process and our what we want to be known about ourselves. And also this.
That's about a minute there, Susan, unless you have
Go
something
for it.
you
That's
wanna finish.
cool.
Okay, okay, wow. I could hang out with you all day too, Susan. Now, come on, I'm with you on that. Bill, your experience or anything you'd like to share?
Sure. Well, I want to echo my appreciation for everybody in my group and everybody who's coming to do the work. Again, being a special education teacher, I saw a lot of kids in need, a lot of kids who needed to be listened to. And so I really, you know, it's near and dear to my heart. And then I don't need to scare anybody, but part of the design of this course is take it at your own pace. You don't have to jump into the deep end right away, and you can take it many times. You can do things, and that was part of the design, is to allow people to accept challenges as they're ready for them. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thanks for that reassurance, Bill. And let's see here. I just want to finish by just sharing my deep gratitude for my 3 new friends. What I saw in our group is, as we went around a couple times, maybe we spoke 3 times even, we went deeper and deeper. And we were able to be there and like comfort each other by accompanying each other on our journey. But that's the more honest we got, the more vulnerable we got, the more like rewarding it was. So I took comfort and learned about myself and was able to bring to share a mutual kind of regard and warmth amongst my small group today. So you know, and it was really the structure that did that, right? Not how we look, not how anybody is as a facilitator, not all that. It was the structure. We stay right with the structure. It equalizes and includes and like provides a space for kindness and care and all that stuff. So that's my time. And yeah, I think we're right on time. Anybody not get a chance to share here? I want to make sure I caught everybody.
I didn't, so I'll just
that's
quickly
right.
jump
See,
in.
Edwin. Oh my gosh.
So, oh my goodness, Edwin's left out. I feel so left out.
Edwin just like founded this whole thing.
I don't feel included.
Go ahead, Edwin. Thank you.
Okay, and I've been rehearsing this too.
Listening to everybody else too.
Well, what came up for me was
sorry, time's up.
Oh, no. Oh, great. So what I was thinking, what came up to me was sort of like a metaphor that in our circle, it's like everyone is bringing these gems, you know, these gems of insight and emotion and so forth. So there was like, it really felt like sort of a treasure chest. So, and so I really enjoyed sort of that metaphor, the the beauty of that metaphor. And the one big gem was actually building on what Lou said about the creativity, empathy, and creativity. And I think how powerful that is an emotion, is a feeling of, empathy that leads to creativity, and it can be a real draw for getting people involved. So that was it. Thanks. And I think Lou is up next, right, for
Yes.
closing us out.
Yeah, so I'm going to bring the session to a close. Let's see. So a little preview of next week. So the session next week will be you practicing an introduction to the empathy circle. So that's you'll practice that. You will also practice facilitating. So in the breakouts next week, you'll do an introduction, and then you'll take turns facilitating the circle that's happening next week. Also, if you can, remember to try to hold an empathy circle this week. The course will have a lot more meaning for you if you do manage to start holding empathy circles, because that does, engage you in a way with the material that will make the course much more meaningful. The other thing is that remember to fill out the session feedback survey, which Edwin will be posting in the chat, the link to that feedback form. And we'll be reading those, and we'll be answering your questions in the next session. That's another part of the next session. Also, the empathy buddy call, and people in the previous sessions have found this very, very valuable. So Edwin will be sending out an email with a reminder of all these things, and also a list of who's paired up with who for the buddy call, so that you can have the contact information for that person and make arrangements to talk to them. Because it's important to have develop a support network as a facilitator, and the buddy calls help to facilitate that, and also help you to reflect on what you're learning in the class. So I think that's it. Are there any other closing comments from trainers?
Lou,
Yeah.
can I just add a comment on the buddy call?
Yeah.
This is an opportunity just to practice a little mini empathy circle with you and one other person. And you get to know somebody else, and like all the same benefits that came from today come from the buddy call. And you can make an agreement. You can set up 30 minutes, 15 minutes each, or you can do 40 minutes, or you can, you can go back and forth, just whatever works for you to be fully heard with each other. So, you get to negotiate it. It doesn't have to be anything special, but it is special because, we get to connect with each other. So just encouraging the buddy call for sure.
And Kelly had that Discord server. Maybe you just want to say a short comment about that.
Thanks, Timothy. Yeah, so Kelly, do you want to tell people about that?
Yeah, I mean, I put the link in. If you use Discord, you'll be familiar with it. But it's basically just kind of like a chat room. There's like probably about 20 people who have not taken this course but are interested in empathy circles. So if you don't have any people in mind, if you do some legwork, it'll be pretty easy to get, you can just get 4 other people, go in a Zoom room, and you can do your empathy circle. It's pretty easy. And there's also other facilitators who have done the course that you can talk to. So yeah, just an option. And if you want to do it, click the link.
And another place that you can practice facilitating is in the Friday morning empathy circles are still happening, Edwin?
They are every Friday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific. A lot of people from here have been there.
So that's an empathy cafe that we hold weekly, and Edwin often needs facilitators for that. So that can be an opportunity to facilitate empathy circles also.
We have an email list for facilitators. I'll be adding your names to that. And there's a Facebook group. So you'll get all this stuff in by the email too.
Yes. Any other trainer comments before we go?
We encourage you, when we're encouraging you to hold an empathy circle, just think about people that are close to you that might want to talk about something that they care about, and make that warm invitation, maybe your family or a few friends, and pick a topic and make that invitation, and you can share some of the benefits for you about how it works for you, and make that invitation kind of a warm one. Yeah, so I just once again encourage you to do that.
Yeah, and Edwin has a good strategy, which is that you can tell people that I'm taking a class and I have an assignment. Can you help me with it? I need to have an empathy circle. Appealing to people's desire to help is a good, often people respond to that. Yeah.
And I had a
Edwin, you wanna
new
say something?
point too that I want. We're starting. This is something new. Is to think about continuing. You're just starting the course now, but already start thinking about taking it again. And this is cohort 12A. We'll have a cohort 12B, and you can take it multiple times and also become a trainer. So you can already start thinking about that and already start inviting people to that. So just give you a heads up there. And also the post here about the feeling, and we want to get that final jazz hands too, Lou.
Okay. Any other trainer comments before we close? Okay, so if we could, everyone want to do jazz hands to get a picture for the website?
And turn on the camera, Trey. Can you get you in there? We want to get the camera on. We got to hold it until Trey's there. Oh, there you go. We got the full group portrait.
Okay.
Yay.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you for
put your value in.
Thank you for cooperating with that, and we hope you have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, check chat. Put your feeling in there if you want. We didn't quite catch all that.
I'm trying to find the links.
Yeah, exit. There you go. Can I help you with that? Oh, did we
So
lose?
we lost Susan.
We lost Susan.
Oh, what happened? Power outage or something?
Yeah, the reason I didn't say that thing about the chat at the end again is there's just too many things at the end.
Yeah.
In the
Like
chat, yeah.
there's like 15 we just want you to remember 15 things.
Yeah.
You know? It's like
Yeah, the Discord might be a little too much for their, put all that kind of stuff. The email list and stuff can be put into an put it into the email that we send out.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. How are we doing? Was it me doing the debrief? This one? Oh, Lou was going to do the debrief.
But I was going to do it. Okay, so how was class for everybody? How did this go for you? What worked well and what could be different? What would you like to be different?
Our group was like fantastic. I mean, just the insights, and I don't know, it was like, yeah, we're on a roll here. So yeah, I felt pretty good about it.
You mean your small group or the whole?
Yeah, our
group?
small group. I mean, the whole thing I felt worked quite well. So
yeah, I would add that the whole group, the whole cohort, maybe because of age and and where they're coming from and what they're practicing. I thought it was, my small group too was deeply engaged.
Susan's coming back in. I'm guessing everyone could see that actually. Okay. Yeah, and I would say I would agree with Edwin about our breakout. It was very rich and wonderful, and it also had this, for me, a very significant element that Trey actually, I'm guessing English is not his first language, so he was having some difficulty understanding and reflecting, and the group slowed down for him and did smaller chunks, and so he was actually able to do stuff, and by the end of the circle he actually